From the corners of the internet to the wave signals transmitting through your brain, you are now sinking into All Aware. Preparing transmission signals. Stand by.
Silent scan.
Broadcasting off the grid in Central Texas. This is the All Aware Podcast.
Thank you.
Please stand by for your host, Nathan Roshan.
Hello and welcome to All Aware. I am Nathan Roshan, and we're going to be streaming video and audio on tonight's podcast. And we're going to have a special guest, Echo Hotel. We're going to be doing a dual show with his channel, Night Watch. And we're going to be talking about time travel and have a little bit of predictions of what might be coming up. All the strange things going on in the world today. This should be a good episode. But first, let's talk about the current news. Multiple train derailments within the past few weeks getting attention across the country as hazmat materials spill, causing disruptions in the ecosystem in some cities. Mainly in East Palestine, Ohio, where a train derailed, spilling vinyl chloride. Now, when vinyl chloride is burned, it creates a chemical that's often remembered as a byproduct of a nuclear blast that happened when Hiroshima and Nagasaki happened back in World War II. And that chemical is called phosphine. Phosphine is often odorless, it's colorless, and it can do a lot of damage. That is not being reported. 100 miles south of East Palestine, Ohio, in Kentucky, there was reports of dead birds in a parking lot. So there are some ecological problems happening from this disaster that just really aren't being talked about. Some people don't even know that this is going on in Ohio. Now, phosphine, some scary things about it. Some symptoms are diarrhea, stomach pain, vomiting, difficulty breathing, fluid in the lungs. It literally breaks every international war law, like the Geneva Convention and other chemical warfare agreements, and it's like nobody cares. But we do. But they don't. Where's the EPA? The next bit of news, we will use some creative language here to help stay within the box, so not to be censored off of some of the places that you want to download our material most. So I'm going to say it like this. The UK Office of National Statistics quietly published a report showing inoculations for the most recent flu departed 25,768 souls from this earth. That's opposed to the uninoculated deaths that only totaled 2,273 from January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. February 3rd, spy balloons over USA from China also reported that multiple were seen everywhere from the East Coast of the Midwest to the Northwest United States. Now news is spinning it on many networks indicating UFOs and UAPs may be the reason to blame. Something isn't adding up. I think it's complete BS. I have an aunt who's retired as a president of a chapter of the FAA, an uncle who was an air traffic controller, and my younger cousin right now is currently in the Air Force as an air traffic controller. And I guarantee you they will tell you, and a lot of others, that if something is not wanted in the U.S. airspace, it will not be there. It won't be flying over the East Coast, the Midwest, the North, the Central North, wherever. It's not getting past the Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, or the Gulf of Mexico into our country. So, what's the angle here? What's going on? It's not what you think. Chemtrails are making Texans sick in the past 2 weeks. Symptoms can include massive diarrhea, and some people were even reporting vomiting and just overall fatigue. This story isn't being discussed, but from my own experiences, as I've went through this last week, and I know others who are going through it now and went through it a couple weeks ago. And the strange thing is, it seemed to have happened right after chemtrails were sprayed in the air. We also have a lot of weather extremes and weather warfare going on that is also not getting any main coverage. Wi-Fi and cell phone coverage has been spotty or disrupted, as reported by many people across the United States. Instagram followers are also reporting similar issues. This has happened to myself. I've had a family member who this has happened to, who she reports that there is some construction in the area. So she thinks it's most likely from that. It could be, but it is also strange that there are several people wondering what's been going on with either their Wi-Fi or their cell phone having no signal or one bar or just being slow. Who knows? But that's something else we need to watch. So that's the news for this episode. I'm going to bring on Echo Hotel right now, and we're going to talk about John Titor, a guy who is apparently from the year 2036, who is a time traveler. And we're going to go in a little bit about, is time travel a legit thing? Is it happening? Some predictions. And we're going to get into some other info on our dual episode here. This is All Aware and Night Watch tonight with Nathan Roshan and Echo Hotel. There he is.
My buddy Nathan.
Hey, buddy.
It's been a while.
Yes, sir. How are you doing?
I'm good. Just sitting out here in the cold weather of California right now.
Yeah.
It's like Ohio weather, man. It's been like a blizzard here.
Yeah, it's crazy in Ohio right now. I'm in Texas, but my family's back there, and they've had some ups and downs and whatever. It's just, how this weather warfare is, so.
That was my thought. The first thought, I was telling my wife the other day, we haven't seen a winter like this in a long time. I mean, every once in a while we'll get some snow down lower, but the snow level last night reached like 2,000 feet, which is, I mean, that's like low mountains in California,
Wow.
So we had some passes closed, the pass that goes up to Vegas and up through the 5, the Grapevine through the 5 was closed. But this is like the third time this year. I mean, maybe once in a while we'll get it twice, but 3 times, someone's manipulating the weather. Something's going on.
Yeah, I did notice that on the weather app there. I saw that you guys were getting cold weather. I'm like, what the 40 degrees?
Exactly.
Did you notice, man, on the I don't know if you have a weather app, but I've had 2 or 3 of them, and they've now made it so you can't see future casts. You can only see past. Have you had that?
I haven't noticed that. No, I just usually use the one that comes on the phone, and I don't even open that much just to see if it's going to rain or snow or whatnot. But even you guys had some cold weather there in Texas last month?
Yeah, the end of last month was pretty bad. I think the beginning of the middle of last month was pretty bad. We had some snow, some ice. Everything shuts down when that happens here. So, a little bit of ice, snow, and stores are closed. People are, stocking up like it's Armageddon. So it doesn't take much. But yeah, something's definitely been going on with the weather. It's been out of whack all over. So yeah.
It's funny. I've listened to a few other shows, and they were talking about how the jet stream was pushed south, which is why you guys got that weather in the first place.
Yep.
And the reason that happened is so um, the Chinese spy balloons, which I don't believe were Chinese spy balloons. They had American writing on them. They were probably made by DARPA, and but they were launched out of China, and they took advantage of that lower jet stream, and launched those balloons so they could look at certain things that were further south.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I don't know if you saw the monologue I just did. I don't know if it showed up, but
No, it didn't. It didn't show up. I'm looking forward to watching it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I brought that up in the news section here because I found it kind of strange. I have an aunt who she retired as an FAA president for a chapter. They have regions. She was one of the regional presidents for the FAA. My uncle was an air traffic controller, and my youngest cousin right now just joined the Air Force, and he's an air traffic controller in Arizona. And any of them would tell you that if the United States doesn't want something in their airspace, and this, being former military, I know you do, working on aircraft, is it going to get into our country?
Oh no, it's not going to get anywhere near us. Not unless they want it to.
Is it going to get over Oklahoma?
No.
Is it going to even hit the East Coast or the
West? It would have been shot down over the Aleutians up by Alaska.
Yeah,
it would have been gone.
Yeah, so this whole thing about these balloons, I mean, what is this, 1950? What is this, like area like Area 51? We're talking about balloons, man. They got satellites that can see you in your house from space, and you're talking about a balloon?
Yeah, dude. Monkey, if you ever watch Monkey Works, man, he talks about the Google balloons, and they were Google balloons, but now they're military. They took them over, and they float around up there at around 80,000 feet. And he talks about how one of those balloons, the cameras are so sophisticated, it can see the stitching on a soccer ball from like 2,500 miles away.
Yeah, that's crazy. I watched there was somebody had a like a telescope, and they zoomed in 200 times from the ground onto one of those things, and you could actually see it. Yeah, it does have a camera in the middle of it. It was scanning, and I mean, you could just it's pretty odd to see that. I'm like, man, that's that's not cool, man. But looking at something.
Times we live in, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about this guy. So Titor, right? You brought this to me like last week. We called, we hadn't talked, and you're like, man, you're like, dude, we were supposed to do this last year, by the way. I don't know if you remember. Actually,
yeah.
I
was just going over the show notes.
Yeah,
the email's like a year old.
Yep, exactly. It was like March. It was supposed to be March's episode, but so we have this guy John Titor, who he came on the scene in 1998, and from how I remember it, I thought he came on a message board, but I think you told me it was actually coast to coast, right? He had like sent faxes or something.
It was July 20, either 28th or 29th of 1998, and it was the episode Art Bell opened it up to all time travelers, and back then, being in the transportation industry, that's what we listen to. We drive around all night, and that's the entertainment. You either throw a CD in, or there was no cell phones, there was no Bluetooth, none of that. So this guy sent a fax to Art Bell, and laid out that he was a time traveler. And I was just going over the show notes, and I guess he sent 3 faxes from what you were um, referencing in the show notes.
Yeah,
And I remember the first fax, but apparently there was 3 faxes that were sent. And that's after that is when he joined the message boards and started going back and forth with people who would ask him questions. Some people asked him, prove you're a time traveler by telling us who won the
right.
Super Bowl or or what are
Yeah,
the next week's lotto numbers or
right.
something. And he wouldn't answer it. He wouldn't even he just wouldn't answer that because it wasn't relevant, And it's funny that he wouldn't answer that because he literally said that people in 2036 looked at people in our time like a bunch of spoiled, rotten brats.
I don't blame him, man. Yeah. That's not actually that far off either, man. 2036. What, that's 13 years or something?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have on here, he sent a fax. Um, yeah, he sent 2 faxes to Art Bell, and then it looks like on November 2nd of 2000, he entered a forum under the name Time Travel _0.
Hmm.
And he posted a title called Time Travel Paradoxes. And basically what he did was, like you said, he said he was from the future. He was coming back in time. He needed to go to 1975 so he can get an IBM 5100 computer, because
Yeah.
apparently there's some kind of technology within that computer in the future, in the not so distant future here, is needed uh for whatever reason, right? So
I think what it was is if I remember correctly, that particular computer would read Linux, and they needed something that would read Linux in the future to help rebuild something they were doing. And so he had to go back, and the funny part about that is nobody knew at the time that existed in that particular model. It was just something that they put in there, and it was just the engineers who knew about it. And apparently the reason he was chosen for that mission was because his grandfather um, was part of the engineering crew that did that. So when he went back, that particular computer could read whatever they needed to read in 2036.
yeah, that makes sense. I was just looking here. I found the schematic. He actually posted schematics of what it looks like. It's
Oh,
kind of
the machine, the 21, the computer or the
the
device,
time
the time travel device.
the time travel device.
Yeah.
It says it's made by General Electric. It does temporal displacement. Um, it produces a dual positive singularity that creates the portal. Let me see if I can show these. Here we go. Um, can you see that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So apparently that's what it looks like, huh? I think it's kind of. I mean, what's with the construction caution tape, man? Oh no.
He said it fit. What did he come back in? A Camaro or something. He was driving around in a Camaro or something, and he said it fit in the trunk of his car.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess some people are probably watching. They're like, okay, you guys are talking about this like it's everyday knowledge, like time travel. You really think this dude came back from the future? And like you said, it first started on Coast to Coast, which is what truck drivers and people that work third shift and people that work 16-hour shifts and things listen to, and it's kind of entertainment. But the strange thing is, a lot of this stuff that has just been entertainment in the past is starting to come true. I don't know if
Oh
you
yeah. Oh,
probably
good.
agree with.
I'm out of conspiracy theories. They all came true. I need some new ones.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And the thing about this Titor thing that got me wanting to revisit it was he talks about CERN in there. And
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but when I first heard that was happening, I wondered if that's might be what they're trying to get at. is to open some kind of portal or do something for, to either go back in time or go into the future or something like that. And if you notice all the crap that's been going on, I'd say that time travel is not far-fetched anymore, man. And
It's definitely not.
even in quantum physics, I'm not a physicist or anything like that, but with just some basic research in quantum physics, man, it's becoming truth in science now that they already know that there are multiple dimensions. They already know that you can bend time. They already know that you can oppose gravity. They're called 0 point gravity. We have machines and things that can do that. So time travel could really be a thing. And just this John Titor thing, it just seemed like he had a lot of he put out a lot of statements and a lot of things between 98 and 2000 that have kind of come true. Yeah.
Well, one thing that sticks out in my mind that you just brought up was CERN. CERN's only been, I mean, that we've heard about CERN for what, maybe 5 years now? Who would have known about CERN in 1998?
Right.
I mean, unless you had high level military clearance or you were somewhere where CERN was. I think CERN's up in Alaska, if I remember correctly. Nobody knew about CERN. You would never hear that. So the fact that he was even talking about that back in 1998 is pretty telling to me.
Yeah, CERN is it actually spans two countries. It's Turkey and I can't remember the other country. There's actually two CERN colliders. The first one was over there. The second one, you might be right. It might be in
Oh,
Alaska.
CERN. No. You're that okay. We're talking about two different things. CERN is in was it Switzerland or
Yeah.
the Hadron Collider? Okay, that's CERN. I was thinking about the there's one in Alaska that's the weather manipulation
Oh, you're talking about
facility.
HARP. Yep.
HARP. Okay,
Yep.
yeah, I got them confused there for a minute.
Yeah, there is two colliders. I don't know where the other one is though. I wouldn't put it past me. It's either Alaska or it might be in Greenland,
It's
Antarctica.
funny. It's funny you brought that up because they did a CERN project. What was it, about 6 or 7 months ago? And when they opened it back up, because it had been closed down for a while, when they opened it back up, they literally did it was like it's like the Super Bowl halftime show. They did this ritual dance and red robes and all kinds of weird looking devil worship, Satan worship stuff. And it's like, what in the wait, you guys have a Hadron Collider here. Why are you doing a show with dancing people? And it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, they did it around I can't remember the Egyptian god's name, but
Ra.
there's there's a statue actually right out in front of the facility there that's just in plain sight there. uh and I think they tried to spin it. If you check public sites and say, is there a statue in front of CERN? It'll tell you that it's some kind of mythical, like thing to bring on the new Earth and beauty and health and wellness and fertility or whatever, all all kinds of stuff like that. And yeah, I don't buy it, but
trying to sell us another line of bullshit.
yeah, I don't buy it, but it sounds pretty. It sounds real pretty, but oh
It's so it's funny. A lot of the things that he said we thought were going to come true, but but Y2K never happened. And I remember
yep.
I remember I was when Y2K came around, I was God, how old was I? I was almost 30. Yeah, I was late 20s. And I remember my neighbor telling me about it. And he's like, yeah, man, if they don't fix this, then all the computer's gonna crash and everything's gonna go to shit. And I never thought much about it. But apparently they say that's one of the reasons he came. He never said it, but apparently that was one of the reasons that he came back to this timeline, was to help people and warn people about Y2K. And once he was done with that, that's why he left, which would make sense. And now, if we had alleviated that part of the timeline, you know, we just moved on. But it's looking a lot now like 20 years later, like the things that he talked about are starting to come true, and
Yeah.
so maybe we just deterred it and put it off for 20 years or 20 plus years. But
Yeah.
he did mention in there that the Russians were actually our friends. And even though that was a nuke strike by the Russians, it was the type of strike that wasn't gonna destroy so much shit that we couldn't clean it up. It was just to cripple us. And it was more. I didn't know if you wanted to go down this route, but it was more designed to take out the corporation, the United
Yeah.
States corporation, not the American people, which there's a difference. A lot of people are waking up to the fact that there's a difference, that we've been a corporation since 1871. And the Russians originally were our friends and allies.
Right.
Even in the Civil War, they sent ships over here, and they were neutral. They weren't going to take sides. They weren't going to get involved. But the Bolsheviks took over, and the Soviet Union came to fruition, and the Cold War, and nobody remembers what happened before that. But the Russians were actually our friends before that. So when you look at the timeline and you think about what he's saying back then, it seems like a lot of stuff is. I mean, we averted a civil war so far, but
Right.
it's it's a real possibility here in the near future.
Yeah. And the thing is that, there's so many different variables. I mean, people say there are psychics and you got mediums and you got, you believe in that kind of stuff, which to some extent I actually do. But the thing is, every decision that any person or anybody makes on this planet is going to change your timeline. So I mean, there's free will, and we can never get around that. So I don't think that would change, even if a time traveler, kind of like think about Back to the Future or something. A time traveler comes back to our time to fix something. They might fix something, but they maybe they talk to somebody. Let's say that person's going to write a book, and they gave them a new word that they didn't think of, and now that word's in the book. So now going forward, that book now has this new word, but we know it as something else. Where I'm getting at is, have you heard of the Mandela effect?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a podcast about this a while ago. But that's the Mandela effect, and a lot of people are coming forward with different kind of theories like that, where they're like, I used to read the Berenstain Bears books when I was a kid, but guess what? Now it's called the Barenstein Bears. It's spelled differently, or it's like that kind of stuff's happening. And is that from time travel, people coming back and changing something here or there, or what is it? Are we jumping timelines? So this time travel thing, man, this guy, maybe he was. I don't know. I mean,
It's crazy. It's crazy, bro. There's people who have reported, not lately because it happened so long ago, but there's people that remember the Titanic actually docking in New York
Yeah,
and never sinking. And
yeah,
I mean, that's another one.
that's
You know,
crazy. Yeah.
maybe it did. That's a whole nother story. Was it really the Titanic? Because from my research, it was the Olympic. It was the twin sister,
Mm-hmm.
and it was an insurance fraud.
Yep.
Not to mention that three of the people that opposed the Federal Reserve were on that boat when it went down.
Yes, they were. Yep.
So
And coincidentally, that was the same year that the Federal Reserve was created. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's how I kind of remember it too. But I've also heard that too, that people have heard it, being docked. But according to Titor, it looks like he's saying time travel was created in 2034. So that's where he's from. He's saying it was created that year. So I don't know, man. I think we got it today, to be honest. I mean, the military is always like 60 years ahead of the civilian population, right? So I
Well,
mean,
I know you listen to a lot of the same stuff I do, and they talk about Project Looking Glass.
mhm.
Some of the shows I've heard about lately are bringing up Looking Glass a lot, and that's kind of what Trump and the Patriots used to decide not to sign the Insurrection Act and go the route they did, because every decision through Looking Glass led to a civil war, except um, waking people up, just letting the process play out and letting people wake up and say, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
so that's where we're at. I mean, people are waking up, dude. There's a lot of people, especially with these train crashes and derailments, and what was there, like 8 of them in a 2 week span, and then a chemical truck in Tucson flipped over, and
yeah. There's one in California. Just heard about yesterday. It's not derailed, but there's train cars carrying hazardous materials that have been randomly stopped on a long portion of track. Just kind of.
miles of them,
Mhm.
miles of them, dude. Yeah, I've seen 2 or 3 videos of it now, because now that it's out, people are going looking for it. And these train cars, the guy that video I saw today, the guy was taping it, and it said Sherwin-Williams chemicals. But
Paint.
Sherwin-Williams does paint. I don't know what chemicals would be in there, but
Yeah,
but yeah, just dude, miles of them, and they're blocking road crossings too, to the point where you couldn't cross certain roads, and there's no locomotives. It's just cars, just parked in the middle of nowhere, and that's the breadbasket of of the West Coast, Central Valley in California. So that's kind of scary. I mean,
is that? I mean, is that normal? I mean, have you ever
no,
seen that before?
God no.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, maybe in inquisitive, I want to run up there and take a look at it, but at the
yeah,
same time, I'm like, you get up there, and maybe that you're, wrong place, wrong time,
yeah, right.
and
Those
the
people in East
rivers up
Palestine.
there, all flow into the ocean, and it's all farmland, so who knows, but
But that's the same about the East Palestine stuff. That runoff, it runs off, eventually gets into the Ohio River, which eventually leads down to the Mississippi, which supplies, 35% of our country's water, East Coast and everything, and some of the Midwest up to, the Colorado. So, I mean, that's a huge disaster that it could potentially be, just based on that right there, man. I mean,
well, another thing that was brought up the other day was everything south of there is Amish, and
for the most part, yeah.
they really want that Amish land, and they don't want them to be able to organically farm, or they want that whole area under control. So
Yep.
um, I really hope people are stocking up on food, and people are ready for. I don't think that's the last issue in that area, but we'll see. I know you and I've been doing this for a long time, and we try to prepare as best we can, but a lot of people out there, they don't, and
Or they can't. Yeah. I
they
mean,
can't. I mean, you talk about East Palestine, dude. Look at the movie that came out on Netflix a year ago, White Noise.
yeah,
It was literally filmed in East Palestine
yeah,
with people from the town, and then it comes true.
yeah, yeah. I mean, to get back on kind of, I guess, to talk about this overall elephant, what do they call it, the white elephant in the room or whatever, man, is something's going on to America right now. Something's going on with the United States. Me and you have more of an understanding because, like you said, we've been doing this for a while. We've been following all kinds of stuff. We're open-minded. We listen to everything. We let you get your point across, and then we're going to sit on it. And then if things start looking like it's going that way, okay, we'll look deeper into it. I mean, that's called critical thinking. I don't think a lot of people have that anymore. But I guess my point is, like, what do you think is going on here, man? We got the weather modification. We got now the weather balloons. Now they're trying to say that they're UAPs or UFOs. I mean, you got the chemical kind of stuff going on with these. Like, who the hell burns? Like, I've done some studying and disaster response because I've been in public safety in the past, and I don't know anywhere where they said if a chemical spills, then you should immediately light it on fire before you even evacuate the town. I mean, just light it on fire, period. Like, what? Like, where's the EPA at? Like, where's the government agencies that are supposed to respond to this stuff? Where's FEMA at to help the people? There's nothing. It's just like nothing happened. Like, it's you can't put it past that something serious is going on, and I think we're under attack, man, more than ever.
FEMA's not going to show up until they're ready to put people in camps.
Yeah,
they don't care about that. But even what you just talked about, the simple fact is, if those train cars were leaking, and I doubt if they were, those things are pretty sturdy. You know, they're designed to take an impact.
well, there's reports that people saw them opening up the tops of those cars that were tipped over. There's reports from people in East Palestine on Instagram and on Facebook Live that reported that.
Yeah. So if that's the case, normal protocol there is going to be, you're going to bring in trucks, you're going to pump the cars out, and you're going to drive off. Even if they were leaking, they could have lined a pit with a rubber material, and then let the stuff drain into the pit. Then you pump it out and you drive off. You don't burn it off.
Yeah,
I mean, that they literally just nuked that town.
Yeah,
Nobody's going to live there ever again. And if anybody's still there and not gone, they're. I mean, I know people. Not everybody can just up and leave, but when your health is at risk, it's time to get the hell out and just go somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, they reported birds falling out of the sky 100 miles south in Kentucky. Fish all over. I mean, have been reported, floating in the waterways. Cleveland, Ohio had some after effects of it. It's crazy. Did you see the overhead view from airplanes and stuff flying over there?
Yeah.
It looked like a nuclear disaster, man.
It looked like a nuclear bomb went off.
Yeah, it was terrible, man. Yeah,
and I worry about that here. I mean, you have to wonder, because Ohio is a red state.
Yeah.
Arizona is a red state. South Carolina is a red state. A lot of these where these things are happening are red states. California is a blue state. Even though not even half, 3/4 of the people I talk to are not blue. They think like you and I do. And it's like, okay, so those train cars are parked in California. Are they planning something here? It seems like lately they're just planning stuff in the states, the swing states that
staging stuff there, man.
That we're there, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I know I keep a close eye on it, and now all this stuff was in Central California, so I haven't noticed anything in Southern California yet, but you never know.
Yeah. Well, hey, we got to take a break real quick. We're going to be right back here on All Aware and Night Watch with Echo Hotel and Nathan Roshan. You stay tuned. We'll be right back.
International law around the world, including living and working in 2 communist countries and undoing the Soviet model economy. I understand who the players are in this genocide. I've done business with all of them, including the WHO. And when the Secretary of Defense illegally mandated the shots, he doesn't have the power to do that. I realized what this was all about, and I filed suit against him and raised a lot of issues, including the fact that everybody that's getting these shots are number one, exploratory laboratory animals. Right? They're just test beds. And then number two, if you got the shots, the odds are, according to U.S. law, that you are owned by the patent holders. You're a new species called Homo borgenesis, and you are owned. We understand that there could have been a Marburg release that Dr. Chambers will get into. We think that one has already happened. We know that Marburg is not particularly contagious, but it has an extraordinarily high rate of fatality, and we know the mechanism by which this will be released, and that is inside of these shots that people already received, inside the lipid nanoparticles, the hydrogel, there exists pathogens inside of the particles that have not yet opened. Those pathogens are chimeric. They include E. coli Marburg, Ebola staphylococcus, and brewer's yeast, amongst others. We know that upon the broadcast from the 5G system that is now employed across the United States and the world for that matter, when they broadcast an 18 gigahertz signal for 1 minute, 3 different times as a pulse, it will cause those lipid nanoparticles to swell and release these pathogenic contents, thereby causing a Marburg epidemic that they've already spent the money on. It's already done, right? The Marburg epidemic, for purposes of the law, has happened, and now we just need the actual disaster to happen. And there's actually worse parts to it than that, including the 1p36 gene deletion that effectively will turn those poor people into zombies.
Welcome back to All Aware and Night Watch with Nathan Roshan at Echo Hotel. So we got a little bit off track here before the break here. We were talking about John Titor and this time travel thing. We kind of got into the current events a little bit. I should have had him on during the news portion at the beginning because we could have talked a lot about this stuff probably then. But I'll tell you what, and I think, Echo, you can kind of back me up on this or tell me your opinion, but I know why we go there, and it's because we care and because there's a lot of stuff going on right now that we're just trying to do our part and put ourselves out there to wake people up. Whether the stuff that we believe or that we say is 100% true or not, it's gearing you in the right direction to just make sure you're prepared. I'm an Eagle Scout. Be prepared was always my motto. You guys had Semper Fi, and you guys had your mottos in the Marines, didn't you, Echo?
Yeah. And I'll tell you right now, my family thought I was off my rocker for a long time, and I'm always prepared. Even some of my Marine buddies are like, "What are you worried about? What, dude? Nothing's wrong. Nothing's going on." Well, now they're preparing.
Yeah.
They're starting to see this stuff. Not everybody. I was fortunate enough to wake up about 6 years ago, and I think that was right before we met.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for people that are waking up in the middle of this shitstorm because they're really like scrambling and wondering what's going on. But yeah, you can only do what you can do, and this time has been a reprieve. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot more. I don't know if you want to go there or not. We know what the Obama era was for, and we know what the Clinton era was supposed to be for.
Right.
Trump offset that and kind of upset the apple cart. So which is why they're full throttle right now.
Yeah. And we can get into that in the next, in another episode, because God knows there's a lot to unfold with that as well. It's a lot, man. So it's a lot going on and a lot that we need to prepare for. but also there's good stuff coming too. But we got to get through the hell to get to the good stuff, man. I mean, it's like anything in life, right? You got to put in all the effort first, and then you get the reward after. You don't get the reward before, right?
There's, it's funny you mentioned that, Nathan, because I tell my family that all the time, that we're going to go through a river of shit, but what we're going to see on the other side is going to be, I mean, something we haven't seen in our lifetime. We haven't, all this stuff happened to us in from 1865 on.
Yep.
And no, we weren't alive back then.
Yeah.
We woke up to the truth of it. And I know we're probably not going to talk about it this time, but one thing we should talk about soon is the Brunson case.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
The Brunson brothers, that's like a loaded revolver pointed at Congress right now, and Congress knows it because the mainstream media actually started reporting on it. They were hoping that people wouldn't see that, but people are starting to see that and ask questions. So that's another good one that we could talk about at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. So if you haven't heard of the Brunson case, look that up. It's everywhere. You can and look it up. It's a couple of American patriots that are going up against what has happened in the past 3 years in the American government. It lays out all the facts, all the figures. They've done their research and their homework all the way down to the T. There's nothing that the Congress cannot basically refute in there because it is real drawn out facts. And that's why they have been delaying it and trying anything, denying it and having them have to appeal and things like that. Because once that hits that floor, it's game over for anybody that is not a patriot, a loving, supportive person of a peaceful environment here in America and throughout the world. It actually unravels all the corruption that's been happening. And if you've listened to my podcast over the years, you know kind of where I stand on that, and you've heard some of the predictions and the facts that have come true up till today. And that's actually confirmation. So if you didn't want to listen to me, you didn't want to believe me, you didn't want to listen to the other people that were screaming at the top of their lungs in the last 6 years, go look up the case filings for that and read that, because when I saw that, I was like, thank God, man. Like, thank God, here we go. It's almost over. Now, I haven't caught up on it in the last couple of weeks. I know they appealed it. Do you know what the current status is of that?
Yeah, they actually heard it again, I believe, on February 19th. They heard a second version of it from the Brunsons, and they haven't released anything yet. It's only been a week.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about the Supreme Court is they can sit on it. They don't have to announce anything. They don't have to say anything. They can just kind of sit on it. And that's why when I say it's like a loaded revolver pointed at Congress, Congress is worried now. And in my opinion, what's going to happen soon is Congress is going to move towards trying to pack the court so they can get a hold on this. So it's how fast can we wake people up before they can enslave us is what's coming, and that's just one more thing in our arsenal. But I personally believe that the Supreme Court is still playing ball with the Patriots, and this is not going to go anywhere. Not enough people are awake right now. We still need to have more people awake, and until that happens, they're just going to sit on it.
See, and I mean, I'm kind of like Nino on this one, man. From Nino's corner, it's like how long do we have to wait for people to wake up? They're awake. The people that are going to be awake are awake. The ones that aren't awake now, I don't know if they're going to wake up, man. I mean, one half of me is like, never give up, and I won't give up on trying to help. But on the other end, it's like, dude, like I'm done, man. Like, what more do you need to see? I mean, you got, I mean, look at Biden and the things He's
It's not
doing.
Biden.
No,
Not.
it's not, and that you know that, yeah.
I
Like,
show people that picture all the time, and it's like
yeah.
they've got. I don't know if you've seen it, the video of the guy that's playing Biden right now, walking through the airport carrying his own luggage and getting into an Uber.
Oh yeah, yeah. They got him walking through a parking lot, and then somebody has their phone out, and they're questioning him. They're like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" And he has a police officer walking beside him. All of a sudden, they call him out. The police officer looks at him, and then he walks off, and then he's just out there by himself, man. Because I mean, it is a joke. I mean, it literally when we say, and this is, I had to tell my friend this the other day because it's been a couple months now, but I kept saying it's not him, and I don't think he was registering what I'm saying. So I had to be like, no, dude, I mean, like, literally, he is not Biden.
Yeah.
It's not that, like, he's not the president, he's not you know, in his right mind. No, I mean, like, physically, the dude is not Joe Biden.
And you can show people pictures all day long. One of them's right-handed, one of them's left-handed.
Yep.
The ears are longer. I mean, you
Eyes are
can't
different,
even
shoulders are different,
You can't even
the
make
gait,
this up, dude.
the walk
You
is
know,
different. Yep. Yep.
this guy deserves an Academy Award when he's all done with this. I don't know.
Yeah, he's gonna
what
get
side
it in
he's
Gitmo.
on.
He'll be
I
the
hope
first
so.
one in Gitmo to see the firing squad. That's his reward, I guess. I don't know, man, but yeah, I mean, just everything going on, man. Just that, like, so what is going on? If that's not even the president, and he's running around. Did you hear the hot mic? Oh man, everything runs together. Probably a few days ago, there was a
I
hot
did.
mic. Did you? You know
Yeah, I
what I'm about to
did.
say? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he walked off stage and said stage, and he was talking about the balloons and all the other stuff. And he says, "Do you think they bought that bullshit?" And his aide in the background said, "Oh yeah, these people will buy anything, man." Like, right, and playing. I mean, it's being shown, I think, intentionally to wake people up. How do you wake people up? By showing them, especially when they've been in a psychological operation like we know has been happening since, like you said, before our time, man. This isn't, and that's why, some people, I know they're scared to, like, give up what they knew was the truth, but, like, no one's gonna blame you for it because it didn't start. It's not like 2 days ago somebody did something shady and we told you, hey, that was shady, and now you're finally seeing it days. This was before your time. This was before any of our time that this started. So of course none of us are going to know what's going on. We're born, we grow up, in our society, and we lived a life that we're told that we live. So it's
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like, that's my part, is like, I don't understand at this point, except for cognitive dissonance, is like, why don't they wake up? It's not your fault. No one's blaming you. Just come on, we got shit to do.
Well, what did Juan say? What is it? 10% or 5 to 10% are just lost.
Yeah.
They're just done. And I know a few of those people.
Yeah.
I know a few of them, and unfortunately, some of the ones I know are military. You would think they would be the ones, or prior military, that would see this and be awake. But 5 to 10% are done. They're not going to wake up. I don't know. I guess it's like unplugging from the Matrix in the movie. They're not going to do it.
Yeah.
They're happy where they're at. Even with the craziness that we see before us right now, they're just not going to wake up.
Mhm.
So we'll see what happens. But
Yeah.
yeah, I did see that. I did hear the hot mic, and I just started laughing, and even as far back as the fake inauguration, where one day it was snowing, and then all of a sudden it wasn't snowing and it was sunny, and then
Plain sight.
Hillary was 6 inches. She lost 6 inches. She was 6 inches shorter than Bill.
6
It's like,
inches, and
it's like,
yeah.
what? It's like, wait a minute, and we know these people all have doubles. They all have body doubles, and but I would say this, to people that think that this isn't real, or that think that this is real. Biden ran on a platform of closing Gitmo, Well, guess what? Gitmo's still open
Larger than ever.
and larger than ever. They just finished a new wing, a new geriatric wing. There's
Oh wow.
what is there, about 5 or 6 terrorists left down there, and I don't think you're going to build a new geriatric wing for 5 or 6 terrorists. So
Hmm.
who's going to be, who's that geriatric wing for?
Somebody
And
that's
then
going to be growing old in there, I guess.
yeah. And then remember, Trump closed up Cheyenne Mountain. In 2020, I think it was March of 2020, he locked it down and shut it down. Um, that's where supposedly all the nuclear stuff is, and so you know,
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. I think that's a good thing that you pointed out. Cheyenne Mountain, when he says it's closed down, it's actually closed down with people inside of it. They've been living down there since
yeah,
March of 2020, running the government. It's a cog operation, central continuance of government, and I don't know who's down in there. I don't have that kind of access, but whoever it is, that's really, I think, who's running things, to be honest with you. So
I mean, there's even reports that Trump himself is locked up in there,
I've heard that too.
and and we've seen. I don't like to go this far, but we have seen a couple of different Trumps. There's
Yeah.
been like one on the golf course who's kind of pudgy and
Yep.
and and his wife's never with him. And then there's another one that seems like his wife is with him, that looks a little different. There's different Bidens.
One's orange, one is a little bit more
Yeah.
pale. Yeah.
Even Clinton. I've seen a couple of versions of Clinton too. Like I was saying, the one that was at the inauguration that they pulled off was 6 inches shorter than Bill and had a mask on. It's like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like you know,
And that's not a conspiracy, man. They've been having doubles for
yeah,
for hundreds of years, man. That's not nothing new. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Double. Yeah.
Even like a year ago, I don't know if you remember seeing it. There was a gal that posted a video. Alexa, I would never have an Alexa in my home or any of that
Nope.
stuff,
Same
but
here.
but she asked Alexa. She was like something about is Joe Biden? Who is Joe Biden? And Alexa popped up and was like, Joe Biden was a senator from Delaware. I think it was from Delaware, and it was he died at Walter Reed Hospital in 2019, I think, or something like that. And it's like, what?
Yeah, yeah, there was one where you could ask, and like I don't have one either, but and it didn't happen on all of them. That's the thing with this AI stuff, man. Some algorithms, depending on how you use your products, pull up different things. Another guy had one, and he asked, uh, what happened to Joe Biden on such and such date with his bicycle or something like that, right? And it says Joe Biden, fell off his bicycle on such and such, blah blah blah, and he died at Walter Reed Medical Center on this date. And I'm like, holy! He's like, what? Um,
Dude, it's comical. And then you follow like Richard Citizen journalist, and they supposedly there was a press conference. This is back in like early 2021 after the inauguration, and supposedly they were doing a Rose Garden press conference, and he was in a hotel room above the White House,
saw that. Yep.
and and he's like, "They're literally, this is live," and then he points the phone down at the White House, and there's nobody there.
Nothing there. Yep. Nothing there.
So.
Yep.
So something's going on, and I do to this day. I watched Nancy Drew and a couple other ones, and there's nothing. DC is a fucking ghost town. It's gone. There's nobody there. There's fences around buildings, and
They go up and
so
down. They've got Nancy Drew is walking around the IRS. They had bags, sandbags around there. The hell are you gonna do? I mean, we all know there's tunnels underneath Washington D.C. for transportation purposes for pedestrians between buildings, but also potentially for some other reasons too. So I
yeah.
mean, sandbags are all around the buildings and kind of encapsulating these tunnel grates. I mean, and it's just like it comes and goes, and like you said, it's a ghost town. They keep putting stuff up around the Capitol building and the monuments, and it's the White House, and
Well, I'll
it's
tell you
very strange.
I just watched an interview with Lloyd Brunson, going back to him, and he brought up a good point. He said one of the reasons the fence went up around the Capitol again was because when they needed to serve those 350 members of Congress.
Right. That makes
And
sense.
if you've got a fence up, you can't serve them. So
Ah,
literally the Supreme Court paid the marshal service because the marshals can get through the gate.
yeah.
And so they were served. They were served, and it was the marshals that did it. But that's one of the reasons the gate went up around the Capitol again was because they didn't want to get served. But they were served according to Lloyd Brunson.
Good. Good. Yeah, it's war, man. It's a battle, man. I mean, it's out there to where they can't hide it now. You just gotta piece it together. But
Yeah.
so we should probably get back a little bit to this John Titor thing. We kind of jumped off that a little bit.
I
So
know.
so Art Bell had a couple faxes from this guy. He popped on in 2000. You know, he talked about him on the show, and then he popped around in 2000 and on a message board on let me see if I can find I think it's Time Travel Institute. Yeah, timetravelinstitute.com. It used to be a message board. Now it's a whole kind of shrine dedicated to all time travel stuff. There's movies and stuff on there you can watch and things like that, or links to movies. So the main thing that this guy was trying to get across is about the differences in the timelines and about what happens in his timeline and ours. And I read a quote that he said, and I don't want to misquote him. So let me see if I can find this quote. Here it is. He says, "When the day comes for my predictions to be realized, it'll either happen or they might not. If it does happen, then your ability to judge your environment is crippled by your acceptance of me as a knower of all things and gifted by the ability to tell the future. If I am wrong, then everything I have said that might possibly have made you think about your world in a different way is suddenly discredited. I do not want either. Although I do have personal reasons for being here and speaking with you, the most I could hope for is that you recognize the possibility of time travel as a reality. You are able to change your world line for better or for worse, just as I am." And that was said on February 2nd, 2001, in the Post to Post Art Bell Forum. So here we go back to this world line kind of stuff. Do you remember any of his predictions that have, I know he had some that did not come true, and that's, wow. Sorry, I was just reading this and it says Mandela effect. We were talking about the Mandela effect off air here because it kind of ties into it. But do you remember any of his predictions that have come true?
His biggest predictions were the Civil War and then the exchange with Russia, the nuclear exchange with Russia.
That's right. Yep.
And at the time, I mean, Y2K is what would have caused that. So if it's true, if he was here to help fix Y2K, and he's the one that maybe tipped him off to Y2K, and they fixed it before it happened, then it's kind of like Terminator 3. And in Terminator 3, they changed the timeline, and nothing ever happened until it did happen. And it was I think 10 or 15, 20 years later, it still happens. It's just prolonged out. So
yeah. That's weird you mentioned 2012 because I'm just trying to connect some dots here. And 2012 is the same year that people started reporting Mandela effect type symptoms. Isn't that kind of
yeah.
weird? So
it happens to me all the time. I'll remember something and I'll talk to somebody about it, and they'll be like, "I don't remember that," And usually
yeah.
it's just those small things, and it can be explained away, but who knows? It's like Dave talked about. We've talked about it before. Why Trump didn't sign the Insurrection Act. because everything pointed towards a civil war. They're trying to avert that. We don't need people hurting themselves. We don't need, I mean, you saw the craziness in the election. You saw the extent that they went to to steal it. I mean, we all can agree now that it was stolen.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. I mean,
Can't win an
what's going
election
on in
from the
Arizona.
basement. Yeah.
Yeah,
You can't win an election from your basement.
that and like we were talking about a little while ago, you just look at Biden. It's not Biden.
No.
It's like even I watched a short clip the other day of Trump debating Biden, and I even missed this back then because I was so kind of clouded up, and I'm like looking at it, I'm like this has been going on longer than we think. The guy he debated, it wasn't Biden. Biden's been gone.
Yeah.
I think long before this election, Biden's been gone.
Yeah, I wish I could bring up I saved it on I think my Instagram. His niece came forward. I don't know if
Yes.
did you see that? Yeah.
Yeah.
She came forward. She said she was tired of dealing with the BS, and she specifically said, "Yeah, that is not Joe Biden. My uncle's been dead. That is," I think she said it was his brother. I don't even think it's that though. I mean, I know it's not that, but she's specifically coming on there and telling her audience and everybody that her uncle has been gone for years. The family even agreed that they would go and do this for publicity reasons. And let's even go with her story. If that's the case, it's not any better than it being an actor, right? It's still fraud. It's still every other kind of crime you could think of. And he's not doing a very good job. Anyways. So.
You know, if people get anything out of this, hopefully they wake up to what I was talking about and alluded to earlier is we've been a corporation since 1871. We were taken over in 1865, but they finally made it official and made it a corporate. The Organic Act of 1871 made us a corporation, and you know, I struggle with blaming our grandfathers for not fixing this shit long before we got
just
here.
riding the wave, man. Yep, they rode the wave, man.
You know, and so, but I don't want to pass this on to my kids.
Yeah.
So one way or the other, this shit gets fixed, and it gets fixed now. So, if I could get that message across to anybody, is wake up to the fact that, and just so people know, the corporation was closed in 2019 by Trump.
Yep.
Because the bankruptcy ended in, I think, 2001, which ties into 9/11. We'll go into that a different one, but there's a 20-year grace period. So 2019, the corporation's closed. It was gone.
They've created a new one since. Yeah.
A new one. Yeah. It's the White House Inc.
Yep.
And Joseph R. Biden is the person of service.
Yeah.
You know, and the things we're talking about are so easy to go and look up for yourself.
Yeah.
For anybody that wants to do it.
It's public knowledge. It's public information. It's posted. Yeah. Dun & Bradstreet. You can go on there. Dun & Bradstreet's the business credit agency. You can type in White House Incorporated. It'll come up and tell you everything. And it's just people don't want to do the research. And I don't know, but what you were talking about earlier about the corporation, if you guys remember, if you've watched my podcast, you can go back to the episode I Am My Affidavit. It was on April 5th, 2021. It featured Echo Hotel as well. We talk a little bit more about kind of what he's going into there. I would recommend you guys checking that one out. Checking out Freedom Under Gessera, which was February 9th episode. And then Infiltrated from Within, which is the episode before that. All this stuff, if you guys are kind of getting off guard, trying to figure out, like, what are they talking about? It's all on these podcasts. Just go back in the history. You can catch up the Mandela effect. We talk about that too. We talk about censorship, everything. So I even talk about the Great Awakening back in 2020, if you can believe that. So check out all those episodes and and catch up with us, so you can kind of be on the same page here. But I just wanted to plug that out real quick. So.
And I know we only have a few minutes left, unless we decide to go over. But people can. I want people to understand also that they can take control of their situation. You don't have to be a slave to the system. You can get out of the system. There's a way out. I got out. I got out years ago.
Yeah.
So it's not hard to do. It's affidavits, like you were talking about. There's affidavits, and there's a revocation of elections you can do with the IRS. There's lots of things you can do. Operate your all caps name as a business or a trust. So there's lots of things you can do to fix your situation if you're in that so inclined to do that.
Yeah, one thing with universal law is there always has to be a remedy, and so there is remedies for every single situation out there. It's just a matter of finding it, knowing about it, and doing it, and not being scared to put your foot forward and do that stuff. So I appreciate you saying that. That's absolutely true. So, but that's all I have for today's episode, Ed. Unless you have anything else, Echo, and
no, I really enjoyed it, man. I appreciate you having me on, and I'd love to do it again.
Absolutely, man. We'll definitely do it again. We should do it once a week. We'll do we got to get together and do something for at least an hour or something.
I think that's great. Even just breaking news or updates or teaching people how to get free or any of that stuff. Yeah, let's do it.
Yes, sir. Well, thanks for having me on your program too, and I guess I'll catch you on the flip side, brother.
All right, my brother. Thanks, Nathan.
All right, not a problem. And for All Aware, I'm Nathan Roshan, and you are All Aware. Good night.